Crypto alt season 2025. Has it been cancelled? Part 641. So there's a few of you guys that have been around since, just like me, since before the last cycle. It's been a long slog. It's been a long grind. We've been trying to make it for this cycle. We've been waiting for something to happen. It hasn't happened yet. We've been waiting for it all year. We've been waiting for that stimulus. We've been waiting for the interest rates to come down. We've been waiting for quantitative easing. That's where the money flow really comes in. Haven't had that yet. We've been waiting for that. September is a key month, guys. We have got a high probability, nearly an 80% probability that we're going to get a rate cut in September. So that means that the market's going to build that in towards the end of September, which is the next FOMC meeting. So what we're going to do is we're going to answer this question. What happens if we don't get an alt season 2025? What would need to happen to the charts? So we're going to look at the charts collectively and we're going to work out exactly what happens if it is cancelled, guys. That's what this video is about. What happens if it is cancelled? Then we're going to work out the probabilities to find out exactly how to prepare for that scenario. That's the $1,000,000 question, right, guys? How do you prepare for something that you don't know what is going to happen? Because the game of probabilities is the game that Mr. Market gives us, the game that Mr. Market allows us to play. And what we get from the market is a bonus, guys. It's all about picking the right time in the market. It is time in the market, guys, not time in the market. Time in the market's time in the tops, time in the market's time in the bottoms. That's not what this channel's about. Other channels might be about that, guys, but this channel is about risk management and having a structured portfolio and an exit strategy as well as that entry strategy. So we're going to start with Bitcoin. What happens if the alt season is cancelled? What happens if the crypto season is cancelled? That's going to start with Bitcoin. And how do we know and how do we understand when this market is cancelled? It is this, guys. That is the number 74,309. Why is that so important? Because we've been putting in during the course of this bull market, which has lasted a long time for Bitcoin, not a long time for altcoins. We've had higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows. Now, the trend's your friend till the bend at the end. You hear me say it time and time again. How do we understand when the trend is finished? It is when you take out the previous higher low. When you get a close below that, which is from where price action is now, a drop of 34.76%. So if you got a drop of 34.76% and then even further, you got a candle close, that would be a confirmation that you've taken out that previous higher low. And that is a confirmation that the bear market is about to start. That is a confirmation that the next swing on the way up is likely to be a lower high. So it is a game of probabilities, guys. That's when the confirmation of the bear market starts, is when we take out, break and a close below 74,667, and then we get a lower high and a continuation to the downside. So it hasn't happened yet. So the next level that we do need to look at is 98,307 to 100,000. So if we get a nasty bounce back there, that is going to affect the altcoins, and you'll see a bleed in the altcoins bigger than what we got. I've had a bit of a bounce today. So you'll see a bleed in the altcoins if that happens. So as far as Bitcoin's concerned, that's what needs to happen if the crypto market is cancelled. That's what needs to happen if alt season is cancelled. We start with the big daddy. If Bitcoin fails, the rest of them fail. It is like a domino effect. So the next thing we're going to look at is the dominance. What we're going to do is we're going to zoom out on the dominance. And we're going to look at this. This is the first target area. Why is this the first target area? First and foremost, we're on the weekly. Higher the time frame, the higher the conviction. Each one of these candles is 1 week. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring up our moving averages, our weekly moving averages. We've got the 200 weekly moving average around here. So this is going to give us our area. That area is sitting between 50 and 46%. So that's going to be the next big area, guys. And we seen a big surge in altcoins when we had this drop here. Imagine what this drop here is going to be like. So we've got a few barriers to overcome before we get there. And we're going to look at the other charts to find out exactly what needs to happen before Bitcoin dominance starts dropping there. Because it starts with one thing. It starts with the second biggest market cap leader. It starts with Ethereum. And we can see Ethereum has gained traction. Ethereum has been banging and banging and banging on the ceiling of $4,000. Once we break and close above $4,000, that means that the liquidity is going to start going into Ethereum more than what it is Bitcoin. Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin. And then you'll start seeing the risk curve change from Ethereum into blue chips, from blue chips into high risk. As far as the average is concerned anyway, guys, you will get altcoins that pop outside of that. You'll get things that just outperform. collectively, when we're looking at it, we're looking at the market as a whole. So we need Ethereum to break 4,000. You can see Ethereum, this is the weekly, guys. We dropped all the way down here to the 61.8 at $3,345. And then we got a bounce up. So we're getting a bounce up, and we'll just zoom back into the daily. You can see this is the area that we need to take back. So once we start breaking this level here, which is 3,552, then that's going to turn bullish for Ethereum. Once we take out 3,945, that's showing momentum for Ethereum. Once we take out 4,000, that's going to show acceleration for Ethereum. And how do we know that, guys? We look at Ethereum against its Bitcoin pair. Who's interested in Bitcoin? Who's interested in Ethereum? More people buying Ethereum, more people buying Bitcoin. You can see at this point here, that's when Ethereum bottomed. When was that? That was 21st of April. We look at Ethereum, 21st, a little bit different. It started outperforming a little bit earlier, but Ethereum bottomed here on the 9th of April. So it's around about the same time. So since then, we've had a push to the upside. We've had a bull flag. We've had another push to the upside. We've taken out the 200 daily moving average. And guess what? Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin. And that is the start of the Ethereum season. That's the last Ethereum season. That's the last Bitcoin season. That's the Bitcoin season before it. When Ethereum starts outperforming Bitcoin, that shows that things start to go through the risk curve, and we'll start seeing altcoins perform. So it is collective charts that we do look at. And the next thing that we're looking at is the dollar. Right, we've got a bit of a messy chart here. Let's clean this up. But looked at this a few days ago, guys, and it's following like a T. So this is the thing that we need to do. We need to hold this lower high here. Let's get rid of this. We need to hold this lower high here. So we're getting a rejection point at this level here, and we're waiting for, on the USDT dominance, we're waiting for one thing, another push to the downside. So we need to monitor this area that's sat between here, 4.61% and 4.52%. We want a rejection at this level. How do we know we're going to get a rejection? We go into the smaller time frame and we look for clues within the candlesticks. So this is the daily chart. That red candle is 1 day. We go into the 4-hour, guys, and that breaks it up even more. Can you see any reversal patterns here? There's the first thing here that I can see that we talk about all the time on this channel. We've got green candle. We've got an indecision candle. We've got a lower low, lower close candle, which completely wipes out the previous extreme low of the previous candle, signaling downwards momentum. What have we had since then? Another red candle, another red candle. So you get clues within the candlesticks. That was one candle on the daily, guys. We've gone into the 4 hours and we've just identified that something's changing here. This is starting to pull back. Dominance is starting to pull back. That's good. Go back on the daily. We understand exactly what needs to happen going into tomorrow now. So next thing we're going to look at is the S&P 500. S&P 500 is pulling back. It needs to pull back. Where does it need to pull back to? It needs to pull back to support. Why does it need to pull back to support? Because it needs to regain that level. Previous support was sat here at 4,142. We have got a bit of wiggle room here on the S&P. 1.48%. 1.48% moves quite big on the S&P, guys. It's not like crypto. So next thing that we're going to look at is the total 3. So we had a bounce all the way back down on the total 3, 926 billion. And this is my bull market indicator. And you can see that we are 19.23% away from my confirmation, guys. This is my measurement, my confirmation of alt season. Break and the close of the previous all-time high of total 3. So when my strategy kicks in and I start exiting the market, scaling out the market over a period of weeks, the same as I scaled in the market during build phase when we were talking about build phase. So that is bearish in the short term. We need to regain this level here, 61.8, 967. So we'll monitor that going into tomorrow, guys. And we want a reversal pattern. We want an engulfing daily candle. We could get that today. If this candle here, which is 953 at the moment, if it takes out, if I just zoom in, if it takes out the extreme high of the previous day's candle, 971.64 billion, that will be an engulfing candle, and then that will show strength going into tomorrow. So we can watch that, look at that by the end of the day, guys, 970 billion. So that's total 3. We look at the Russell 2000 next. Russell 2000 had a bounce. You can see we've got its 200 daily moving average, 2,178. Anyone that doesn't know what the Russell 2000 is, that is the small cap 2000 index. So the small cap stocks. You could see by the end of the day, one thing that we want to do is regain this level, regain the 200 moving average, and also regain the 61.8% retracement. So by the time we open on Monday, tomorrow, see what happens there. Right, that is about it, guys. So collectively, we're looking at altcoins, we're looking at alt season, and what needs to happen for alt season to cancel. We can look at total 3, and we can measure exactly the same as what we did with Bitcoin. What needs to happen for the altcoins to fail? This is 757.42 billion. So measure that from where price is now. We need a drop of 21.65% collectively on altcoins outside of Bitcoin, outside of Ethereum. So that's what we need to do for alt season to be cancelled, guys. See, we're putting in higher highs, we're putting in higher lows. Things are looking good for me. So just bear that in mind. It is patience. When you start seeing these swings to the downside like this, these grinds to the downside, that grind to the downside before we got a breakout was 58 days. How long did this move to the upside last? 3 days. So 3 days to the upside, you got 58 days downwards. The downside is there to hurt you. The downside is there to put the emotions into you to make you not believe that something's going to happen. Then when you get the upside happens in just a few days, and it's really hard to get, guys. So it's all about positioning yourself during the pullback, positioning yourself during the downside, and then reaping the rewards on the upside. None of this is financial advice, guys. Let me know in the comments what you want me to cover next. Don't forget, help me get to 10,000 subscribers. Help me get to 10,000 subscribers, guys. We're going to be doing some special things when I do get to 10,000 subscribers. Jump in the Discord group. It is completely free. And I will see you guys in the next one.